The latest PlayStation Showcase offered a lot of great announcements with video games we'll be enjoying in the upcoming months, but at the same time, there were some missteps. And this time I'll talk about the announced PlayStation Project Q, a handheld device designed to solely stream PlayStation 5 games. Personally, I'm quite confused with this proposal. Sony PlayStation had a fascinating history with handheld devices, but handheld is not the main focus nowadays, and instead, the company gave players the option to stream their catalog for free on any smartphone. With that in mind, who is this Project Q for? Seriously, we don't know that much of this handheld other than it will have an 8-inch LCD display that can run up to 1080p and 60 frames per second. It basically has a DualSense stuck into it, capable of every feature that the original DualSense has: built-in microphone, adaptive triggers, and haptic feedback. The back looks very similar to the Satisfy, that third-party ergonomic grip for the Nintendo Switch. As for the touchpad, there's no confirmation yet, although they could add a touch feature on the LCD screen. Since it is designed to stream video games from the PS5, Project Q will include a built-in Wi-Fi 2. A bit strange, considering the PS5 is capable with Wi-Fi 6. Although, with what I've spoken to other colleagues, our guess is the product could still be affected by the crisis shortage that started during pandemic. So they're selling a device with a cheaper Wi-Fi antenna perhaps? As per the battery, it is rumored to be as long as 4 hours, but I prefer to wait for more updates before assuming. That said, it will be terribly ironic considering that is as much as how the DualSense controller battery lasts. Just to clarify, the Project Q will be a streaming-only device that requires you to have a PlayStation 5 and stable connectivity at home to stream image and audio solely to that device. You can play video games, download content, have a party chat, get captures, and so on, as long as you connect your PS5 to Project Q a single time and leave the home console in rest mode. There's no specification as the minimum speeds, but based on PlayStation Remote Play app FAQ page, the minimum goes up to 5 megabits per second for both upload and download speeds, and a 5 GHz Wi-Fi connectivity. And if we compare it to Xbox Cloud Gaming, the minimum goes up to 10 megabits for mobile and 20 megabits for consoles to achieve the best performance. Even something like Nvidia GeForce Now requires up to 25 megabits per second if you want the extra juice for playing at 4K with 120 FPS and RTX on. Although keep in mind this is pure speculation and not technically the same scenario, since those two are pulling data from their own cloud data center, whereas in Project Q, you will be the one connecting directly to your PS5. The announcement was very dry, to say the least, with not even a release date, price, or even a feature update that fans might take a look at. This project clearly comes to compete with other streaming devices, and if we're playing a guessing game here, the price could go up to $250 US. I'm not comparing the price console to Asus ROG Ally, Nintendo Switch, and Steam Deck. I think it can go on par with Logitech G Cloud for the cost of $299.99 US, does pretty much the exact same function. Although this one streams Xbox Cloud Gaming, Steam Link, Nvidia GeForce Now, and guess what? PlayStation SharePlay as well. Some may think that Project Q will cost less than $200 US, but then I remember that Sony is charging up to $550 US for the PlayStation VR 2, which is only available for PS5. And I'll be glad to be wrong, but that said, I think they could easily get away with $250. In terms of design, I personally think the handheld completely misses the mark when it comes to comfort and simplicity in your hands. Companies like Nintendo, Valve, Asus, Ayaneo, and Logitech really understood the idea of using a compact screen tied with the controller. With this Batarang-like design, it feels uncomfortable to carry and to lay down in your game room, as it needs to occupy all the space, which also resonates with the PS5 design. It needs all the space in your room, and if you don't have it, you have to buy another piece of furniture or place it in strange ways. This doesn't happen that much with the Switch. I mean, yes, you have the Joy-Con drift, but the flat design occupies much less space and it's easier to carry. Also, they recently released a Backbone controller, which to my eye, it seems easier to carry around in your pocket. I also don't understand why there is a need from PlayStation to release this device, considering you can easily do it with your smartphone, the PS Remote Play app, and any Bluetooth controller. My guess is they're trying to have a profit on each and every investment they do. SharePlay is a free feature for players, but the cloud engine behind is definitely not cheap to maintain, and I'm not including the games running on the cloud exclusive to the PlayStation Plus premium tier. So my guess is they're trying to compete with other streaming cloud handhelds. But it is all strange overall. I would have understood if they released a device that could also stream Xbox and PC games. That would have been a bold move. Even more than we'd have a lot of PlayStation exclusive titles already on PC. And how well does that PlayStation Remote app work, you may ask? Well, assuming that Project Q will run as well or better than this alternative, I'll say it's not justifiable. I'll probably talk about the whole cloud gaming topic in another video. This time I'll focus my main impressions as to how it will be for this Project Q based on my experience on the Remote Play app. And so far, it's alright, but it obviously doesn't compare to playing it directly on your monitor or TV. And it's not even compared with the Wii U tablet. Yes, I've seen the memes, but it's not even close since that is using a custom Bluetooth technology with pretty much no loss of image quality, making it hard to replicate even today. Anyways, in general, Remote Play is playable, but you may suffer from stuttering sometimes, and that could be a detriment to more skill-based video games like fighting or platformers. Like, there's a millisecond that could become vital while jumping obstacles on games like Skeletak. When it comes to more cinematic adventures, it's much more enjoyable and easy to navigate. Control response is honestly pretty decent. I managed to hit most of the combos while playing Mortal Kombat 11 online, but it struggled a bit on Rocket League. On games like a Resident Evil 4 remake, you could pull it off, but precision is less effective due to millisecond stutters. I'd recommend changing every game to performance mode. That way you will boost the frame rate and reduce lag on control input. So overall, I'll say it depends on the game, speed and bandwidth. And one thing to note is that there is no compatibility of the DualSense technology while playing PS5 games. The control doesn't even register rumble at all. In contrast, every PS4 game does register rumble. Oh wait, of course! So that's why we need Project Q! This will feature a full blast of haptic feedback and adaptive triggers! That's right! I also found some interesting aspects comparing the PlayStation Remote Play service with Xbox Cloud Gaming and Nvidia GeForce Now. Keep in mind, all of these were purely observational on experience. I did not measure them with professional tools, but I'll say the first impression is the most important here. I also did it in different places of my home and the closest I could be to my router. As told before, PlayStation favors quality over input lag, and that could be an issue in the long run. Xbox favors input lag over quality, where most of the time resolution couldn't get to full 1080p, but controllers were very responsive. And then GeForce Now is the perfect balance in quality and responsiveness. I don't like scores anymore, but if I have to, cloud gaming is a 68 out of 100 experience. For over a decade, Sony introduced the PSP and the PS Vita to gamers all over the world. Both consoles were quite astonishing in design and with its gigantic gaming catalog. However, it became quite difficult to define a console for most gamers. Yes, both consoles are plagued with fantastic RPGs and platformers, But PlayStation fell short on delivering annual first-party exclusives, something that is currently happening with the PlayStation 5, but I'll save that topic for another video. Thanks to these rumors, a lot of people were hoping that PlayStation was finally going back to the handheld gaming market. But as I always suggest, hope is the first thing you should lose. If you think about it, nowadays it doesn't make any sense to have a PS Vita 2, let's call it. Majority of first-party exclusives are currently shipping giant productions that are tailored to play on monitors or TV screens for the PlayStation home consoles. You might argue the same for Switch exclusives, but in that case, that's the only console Nintendo developers are working with. Whereas I honestly don't see studios like Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games or Insomniac crunching over time to deliver on handheld and on PS5 every year. Nowadays, video games take longer to make, and unless we see something like Microsoft where they give space for giant studios to also release mid to small sized projects like Pentiment or Hi-Fi Rush, I don't think it's feasible for PlayStation giants to do that either. Even less considering that 55% of investments are financing multiplayer first-party exclusives, which is not a common thing for Sony PlayStation to do, by the way. That said, I don't see those upcoming multiplayer games hitting on a handheld device either. This may be a little controversial, but I may not be part of the target audience for this Project Q, because after playing a considerable amount of first-party to third-party blockbusters on PlayStation Remote Play app, I decided it wasn't for me. Games like Spider-Man, God of War Ragnarok, and Resident Evil 4 felt too saturated on a screen with so many details I could easily lose. And when the internet quality is not there, you might see blurriness in the background, making the game look uglier than it shouldn't. Yes, it's great for grinding on RPGs and some smaller titles, but screen quality doesn't do enough justice, even if it bypasses HDR and frame rate almost properly. And I don't see why it is bad to imitate good ideas like the Wii U or Logitech G Cloud. In fact, I think imitation is the key for innovation. As to answer the main question here, who is this PlayStation Project Q for? Well, for now, I think it is just a commodity for those who have an excellent speed and don't want to use their phone to play PS5 games outside their game room. I don't even recommend it while someone is using the TV, because that person will probably steal valuable data to stream your video games. So it probably won't be for a familiar household that constantly uses the internet for a lot of stuff. I guess if you live in Manhattan area, San Francisco, or in Roppongi in an apartment all alone by yourself, or you're a traveler with full access to Wi-Fi and a secure game room with reliable electricity, no outages, 24/7 internet connectivity, then I guess this Project Q Batarang is just for you. I'm Leo as Luna, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel for more video game essays like this, video game tips, game analysis, and more. Comment your thoughts about it and share it to a friend who is confused by it and wants to know more about this Project Q. I would like to read an opinion of someone who is actually interested. Perhaps I was too harsh with it. Anyways, remember, I'll try to post at least 2 videos every month, and I'll see you until the next one. Happy summer gaming events and take care.